The first indication of impending doom was not a siren, but a silent ripple across Venezuela's grid. Before the sun pierced the morning mist, a terrifying alert cascaded through every single military channel nationwide. This was no simulation for somewhere beyond the horizon. American strategic bombers were inbound amidst the waves. Venezuela's war machine instantly transitioned from a state of watchful peace to the brink of total annihilation. Pilots scrambled toward jets with frantic urgency as mechanics tore safety tags off the live missile rails. Inside subterranean bunkers, generals barked orders while satellite feeds bathed their faces in the cold blue light. The atmosphere was thick with tension, the dread felt when diplomacy fails and the guns are unlocked. After years of trading insults, the geopolitical chess match spiraled into a scenario resembling World War III. The timing was catastrophic, for only days prior, a secure line connected the White House to Miraflores. The ultimatum was simple: step down into exile or face the unchecked wrath of the United States. There was no olive branch offered, just a binary choice: pack bags or watch your regime burn. He rejected the offer, for you cannot abdicate the throne while keeping your finger on the trigger. The call ended with a chilling promise. The time for talking was measured in hours, not days. 72 hours later, Venezuela responded with a deafening roar as an Air Force parade challenged the Pentagon, and the airspace trembled as Su-30 flankers and F-16 Falcons tore through clouds in aggressive, tight formations. It was a spectacle meant for two audiences: the loyalists on the ground and Pentagon strategists watching. The message was clear. But beneath the bluster, the math was unforgiving, for the Air Force fought against time and embargoes. The Su-30s acquired from Moscow in the mid-2 were undeniably powerful. Twin-engine monsters laden with heavy ordnance, these massive airframes were the Slavic answer to the F-15 Eagle, capable of reaching Mach 2 speeds. Powering these beasts were turbofans, turning out 27,000 pounds of thrust each in full afterburner. That creates enough kinetic energy to rocket the jet to 6,000 feet in a violent ascent. These jets carry pods for electronic jamming and maritime strikes, posing a legitimate risk to naval assets. The Russians built them like flying tanks, designed to absorb damage that would disintegrate a lesser plane. In a regional skirmish, these flankers are kings, but against the U.S. Navy they were severely outgunned. Then there was the strange case of the F-16s, American jets defending the regime Washington sought to topple. Purchased decades ago during friendlier times, these single-engine fighters were the backbone of the coastal defense grid. Driven by Pratt and Whitney engines, they could hit Mach 2 and were renowned for dogfight agility. However, their Achilles' heel was their legs, for without refueling tankers, the Vipers were tethered to bases. They could scramble to protect the capital, but could not project power deep into the Caribbean Sea return to base. Still armed with sidewinders, and possibly retrofitted with radar missiles, an F-16 is never something to ignore. If an American pilot got careless, these vintage jets could still score a kill in the skies. The real anxiety for U.S. planners was not the airframes, but exactly what hung under their wings. As the crisis deepened, military observers scrutinized every pixel of the parade footage for specific missile types. The Su-30s were spotted with R-77 missiles, active radar weapons with a reach of over 60 miles. A Venezuelan pilot could fly nap of the earth, pop up and fire before the Americans even registered the threat. The R-77 has its own brain tracking the target independently, making it incredibly difficult to shake off. Additionally, the arsenal included AIDER missiles for medium-range engagements and heat seekers for the close-range merge. The ability to lock onto a target without pointing the nose is a game-changer in close swirls. But the nightmare weapon causing late Pentagon briefings was the KH-31, a dedicated supersonic ship-killing missile. Built to turn aircraft carriers into burning wrecks, it sprints at Mach 3 while dodging ship defenses. Intelligence confirmed these missiles were active in the inventory, creating a suicide run scenario for the squadron. A volley of K-31s at the USS Ford could saturate defenses and cause catastrophic political fallout. Globally facing this array of threats was the terrifying magnitude of U.S. air power, a disparity almost cruel carrier strike group positioned offshore, brought more firepower than the entire Venezuelan military combined could muster. The USS Ford was stacked with Super Hornets, combat-proven workhorses, capable of engaging targets over huge distances. These pilots had flown sorties in hostile environments, backed by a digital web Venezuela could only dream of. And then there was the invisible sword, the F-35 Lightning II deployed to forward bases in Puerto Rico. The F-35 represented a generational leap, seeing enemies from distances where the Venezuelan jets were effectively blind. Stealth coding allowed it to slip through radar nets like a phantom, an execution waiting to happen. While the Su-30 is a brute force brawler, the F-35 is a sniper in a dark room. To drive the point home, ancient but terrifying. B-52 Stratofortresses were flying loops near the flight region. Protecting them were Hawkeyes, the quarterbacks of the fleet, watching planes taxi from international airspace with radar. Add in the unblinking eyes of Reaper drones and Global Hawks, and the U.S. had total omniscience. Venezuelan commanders could not so much as start a truck engine without a satellite logging the heat. Venezuela's answer to this surveillance dragnet was to light up their ground defenses and S-300 missile batteries. This lethal system tracks and destroys aircraft 100 miles away, creating a respected denial zone today. You do not just fly casually over an S-300, you have to dismantle it first to survive. Airspace closed. This reality forced the U.S. to close huge swaths of civilian airspace to avoid tragic fatal mistakes. Wargamers in Washington began running simulations of how the spark would ignite, starting with Scenario 1. In the maritime ambush, Venezuelan Su-30s scramble from L.A. Orcala to intercept a U.S. Navy spy plane. The Venezuelan lead pilot gets a tone and fires an R-77, but the U.S. side isn't passive. An accompanying electronic warfare drone blasts the spectrum with white noise, blinding the missile seeker instantly. Now the weapon falls harmlessly into the sea and the P-8 escapes. But the line has been crossed. Scenario 2 involves a special ops raid, where a SEAL team inserts to secure high-value targets. The Vipers screaming low, hoping to catch the Americans on the ground before they can escape. High above, they fire missiles from 50 miles out, erasing Venezuelan S-16s before they can even arm their cannons. One survives the initial volley and merges, only to be obliterated by a Helmet QD Sidewinder missile immediately. The path is cleared and the raid proceeds, proving these were not grim fantasies but tactical realities. With the Venezuelan military at DEFCON 1 and the U.S. Navy offshore, the margin for error vanished. One twitchy finger or misinterpreted radar ghost could instantly transform the entire Caribbean into a violent war zone. But this bluff was backed by the most violent, overwhelming military capability in on all of human history. Or would pride drive them into a conflict, ending with their air force turned to scrap metal? Day after day, radars spun while pilots sat in sweltering cockpits waiting for orders, ending their lives. The missiles were prime targets locked, and the fuse was burning shorter by the second right now. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please like and subscribe to Wines of Thought for more strategic analysis.